Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, April 24. If you're watching live on Monday, April 24, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 769-1677. As always, you can watch us live on Cablevision or Verizon Cable TV or at pctv76.org. And within a few days, you can pick up an on-demand webcast of this and prior meetings at pctv76.org. Our next scheduled meeting is Monday, May 8 at 8 p.m. with a work session at 7. So I have a few announcements to make. We have a bigger than usual audience tonight because of the petition of Sunrise Development, and we cannot resist the opportunity to take advantage of a bigger audience to report a few things. The first is we have two
Doesn't happen a lot, so we're happy.
Exactly. So you're in for a long night, guys. Sorry. The folks at the Pleasantville Garden Club came to us a couple of meetings ago and asked us to declare the red knockout rose the official flower of Pleasantville, which we were happy to do. And so a mayoral proclamation of great significance is being issued that describes the red knockout rose as the official flower of Pleasantville and encourages the folks in the Garden Club, the Beautification Committee, the Parks Department, and residents as well to consider using the red knockout rose. The other proclamation we have arises from discussion with the Pleasantville Recycles Committee, which has offered to provide promotion for a designated weekend for yard sales. Lots of folks like to have yard sales in the spring, cleaning out the garage and the basement and the attic. And the Pleasantville Recycles Committee has proposed that we establish the first weekend in June to be designated forevermore as the preferred weekend for yard, tag, and garage sales. And the Pleasantville Recycling Committee will offer to promote that. So that is a proclamation issued today as well. And we encourage everybody to think about that first weekend in June as a possible occasion to get rid of all that junk that has accumulated. Extremely happy news after a string of failures with applications for state and federal grants. We received the extraordinarily good news this week that our grant for the Manville Road streetscape improvements has been accepted under the TAP grant program of New York State, which is a distribution of monies, I think, that have a federal origin. The Village of Pleasantville has been awarded $1,510,000 towards this grant. Our match of that is about $750,000. All in, it's about a $2.25 million project that has been on the boards for a good long while. We actually have engineered drawings for most of it, although some of that will have to be revisited. What this anticipates is revision to the end of Memorial Plaza near the war monuments, the closing of that right turn lane to improve the pedestrian conditions, bumping out the sidewalks at crosswalks at Grant Street, at Manville and Wheeler, at Manville and Washington, improving the sidewalk conditions on both sides of Manville, and building a planted median in the middle of Manville Road from about Kings Crown up towards Tompkins Avenue. So at a future meeting, we'll show the drawings that we have, and we'll engage folks in any comment they may have about it. But the immediate news is a project that we have long thought would be a great advantage to the Village of Pleasantville is now going to become a reality, thanks to a whole lot of folks, including Patty Dwyer, who waded through an awful lot of bureaucraties in order to get this thing in. And I'd also like to thank Senator Terrence Murphy and his staff, who were responsive to our request to help make the case for this particular grant. And so the happy news is that the Village of Pleasantville will get $1.5 million, which I think, without knowing for sure, probably exceeds the accumulated state grants in a generation or more. So not wanting to be in any way pessimistic about it, really happy news, and thanks very much to all of those who participated in that venture. Bunch of, yes.
That's really great.
Right.
Huge.
Bunch of dates to mark on your calendar. As many of you already know, our annual Pleasantville Day is coming up on Saturday, May 20. a great event. The folks in the Pleasantville Day Committee have ratcheted up that event in each year, and looks to be a great lineup this year. A week before that, on Saturday, May 13, the folks at Pleasantville Recycles will be collecting, as they have in past years, used sporting equipment down at the recycling center at the end of Village Lane in our DPW yard. So if you have old sporting equipment, please bring it. The folks at Pleasantville Recycles collect it, and then they appear at Pleasantville Day with stacks of stuff, which is available free to all takers. So it's been a feeding frenzy of baseball bats and basketball hoops and lacrosse sticks and the like. A great way to get rid of stuff that's no longer used in your household, and also a great way on Pleasantville Day for folks to restock their sports equipment without charge. So again, the Sports Collection Day is May 13 at the DPW yard. Pleasantville Day is May 20. The Memorial Day services are on, obviously on Memorial Day. Let me get the exact date of that, which is Monday, May 29. That event on Monday morning begins at 10 a.m. at BRS in front of the World War I monument, and then proceeds down to Memorial Plaza, getting there at about 10:30 for the balance of the ceremony. So we encourage everybody to be involved in that and to come attend. Just this week, I filmed a PCTV segment with Roy Westmoreland and Roger Lemke of the Fancher Nickel American Legion Post, not some of the Memorial Day plans, but also the activities of the Legion in general. And so I encourage you to get to pcdv76.org to learn a bit more about the American Legion. And just a few days later, on Friday, June 2, is the annual Pleasantville Fire Department Parade. Mark your calendars for that. Be careful about parking downtown that day,
Yes.
because you could get stuck. It's hard to get out when there are rows of fire trucks in your way. One of the great sort of signature Pleasantville events, not only a really fun time, but also a great opportunity to thank the folks at the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department and all the fire departments in our region for all they do. So that's Friday, 6/2. And then lastly, if I haven't run out of air in the room yet, the Pleasantville Music Festival is on Saturday, July 8. PleasantvilleMusicFestival.com is a great place to read about the activities. We're within a few weeks of announcing the lineup. It's going to be a great day, a great and sunny day, right, Patty? Promise?
Sunny.
It'll never rain on that festival, I promise.
So that's the list of my announcements. I end on a somber note. As I think many of you know, we lost a Pleasantville High School student, Quentin Lupo, this past week, and an extremely sad funeral held at Holy Innocents just this past week. And I just send our sympathies, obviously, to the Lupo and to the Diaz family and to every member of the Pleasantville School District community who suffered as a result of this loss, but also want to thank so many folks in the school district, in neighborhoods, people who contributed to a GoFundMe campaign, and to the folks at the Pleasantville Police Department who were so generous of their time and services in making that funeral day with a very, very big crowd go smoothly. So sympathies to all on that front. So we have a couple of public discussions tonight, but I wanted to start with Dave Juros and Anjali Sautoff, who are here to talk about excess food.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you giving us a few minutes to talk to you.
You're going to have to do this from the microphone. You know that,
For the
right?
microphone, no problem.
Thank you.
Pass it. So I'm just giving you some background information. I'll just speak for just a few minutes.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. So as you know, I, with my son, started the Pleasantville Community Garden. We've been running it now for 3 years. The garden not only grows food, but the organization also collects food locally from the farmers market, and also from food collection events that we do. In 3 years, we've donated over 34,000 pounds of food. And what this has done for me is it's given me a passion for the food justice world. And when I heard about this new act that was being promoted, it felt like something that I should get behind and that the Village of Pleasantville might want to get behind as well. Basically what it is it's a request that was created by a man named Mike Siegel, who is a corporate lawyer. He spent time in France and found that they have a law in their books that all excess food from local supermarkets and restaurants must be donated if it's in edible condition to local charities that bring food to people that need it. He thought that was, of course, a fantastic idea, decided that it was something he wanted to research, both on the French side and also on the US side, how that might coincide with the laws that exist here, and bring that to fruition if he could. He has presented it in the town of Bedford, the town of Greenburgh, and the town of Mamaroneck, and resolutions have been passed in those towns to support this effort. The 17 Westchester County legislators have all agreed to support it, and now they're looking for additional support to be able to bring it to the New York State Legislature. So what I'm asking for your help with is to support this, to support the signing of a resolution to bring this to the New York State legislators to have this enacted. A couple details, and again, I'm going to be brief about this, but hunger is so pervasive, it's amazing. In Westchester County alone, 20% of the population does not have enough food, 200,000 people. There are a lot of organizations like mine that do a lot of work in this area, but it's an issue that continues to grow and it's not subsiding. It's now, from what I've heard, up to 21% instead of going backwards. So the need for this food is so incredibly important. At the same time, a humongous amount of food is wasted in this country as a whole. Statistics put it at about 40%, and that's across supermarkets, restaurants, food service locations, as well as in our own homes. This act is looking specifically at supermarkets. Supermarkets account for about 10% of the total food waste in this country. And obviously it's a large portion of the food chain, which is why Mr. Siegel decided to start with that industry specifically. The request is to ask the supermarkets to be able to donate, allow the food to be donated at the end of the day if it's still in edible condition. There's not a lot of need for the supermarkets to do things outside of the ordinary except for gathering the food together and making it available. One thing I've noted in this information that I've given you is that there are a lot of local organizations that would be able to pick up and transport this food. County Harvest works across the entire county of Westchester and has rescued millions of pounds of food. Our organization, although we're just working with the farmers market right now, we have the volunteer base and capabilities to be able to do this kind of transporting if we were called upon to do it. Hillside Food Outreach picks up, the Food Bank for Westchester picks up, and Food Rescue US also picks up around the area. So there's an existing infrastructure to work with the supermarkets to be able to do this and take care of this extra food. And supermarkets, it's an interesting place, and they do often donate their food, but it's not done on a continuous basis, on a regular basis. From the work that I've done with Hillside Food Outreach, they consistently work with the supermarkets to try to take in what's left over. Sometimes they donate and sometimes they don't. So to have this put onto the books as a law, I think would help to get more of that food that's not being utilized to the people that need it. So, the hunger in Westchester County, going back to that for 1 minute, like I said, about 20% of the county, I've heard 21% now, 33% of those children are under 18, 8% are children 0 to 5 years old, and 51% are seniors on fixed incomes. So we're talking about really vulnerable people in our county that need this food. And we believe that we should be doing everything we can to bring as much of the existing food that would be wasted to the people that need it. So what I've given you in this packet is my notes with some statistics for you to review. I've given you an article about Mr. Siegel and the work that he's done in Bedford and Greenburgh and Mamaroneck. I've given you the resolution that was signed by the town of Bedford, so you can see an example. And they also gave me a blank copy of a resolution for Pleasantville to review and decide if that's something that you can do.
Thank you, David. This is great. So could you just, we're now reading this, but could you just describe for the benefit of those listening what kind of excess food grocery stores typically have?
It's really across the board. One of the biggest issues in food waste is the lack of understanding of the use by, sell by, expires by dates. That's
We have that
something
argument in my own house, actually.
That's actually something that the federal government is now working on changing, which is an amazing thing to do because of the confusion over that does cause a lot of food to go wasted that shouldn't be. Proteins are very difficult for all of the food justice places to get. Supermarkets at the end of the date period can freeze it. They can't sell it to you and I, but they freeze it, and then just like you and I can do, put it in our freezer and it saves for an excess amount of time. They can do that and be able to give that to local pantries. Vet fruit and vegetables is a really difficult one because of the shelf life and the lifespan of those, but they're still cleaning off shelves when they have new shipments coming in and the food is still very usable. But even down to cans and boxes of food as well, all of that food that's expired, promotions that go out of date and things like that, there's a lot of reasons. So I noted some in the notes for you of those reasons why.
Okay. Other?
Yeah, so just to make sure everybody understands what you're asking is we're being asked to support the legislation that will end up before the state of New York.
Right,
Correct.
exactly. What's happened is the 17 county legislators support this, and for them to bring it to the state and ask the state legislator to support this, they'd like as much support from the individual towns as possible, towns and villages, so that they have as much power behind them to talk to the state about getting this done.
I see on here it's already got a bill number. Has it been submitted to the state yet? Is it in the assembly now? Or?
It's been submitted, but I believe it's still in the process of being
So
discussed.
they gave it a
and-
number, but
Right, it's not.
All right, great.
I'm in.
I'm in too, so.
Likewise.
So
yeah, me too. I don't want to be left out.
Okay. We're missing one member, but we clearly have 4 votes already, so.
Colleen votes no.
We'll put this together and really thank you on 2 fronts, not only for bringing this to us, but for the extraordinary good work you and your son and your entire happy band at the Community Garden have done, turning that into just a fantastically successful thing for the
Yeah,
community.
it's not a project, it's an enterprise now. It's just
Yeah.
really huge.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, so now,
A lot of support in this town.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So will we look at the legislation or look at the resolution
Yeah.
and craft our own kind of?
yeah, so we'll read this over, but,
Put it on for the 8th?
yeah, we'll put on the resolution for the 8th. So.
Great,
All right.
terrific.
Thanks.
Thank you all, I appreciate the time.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the petition of Sunrise Development, Inc. For a proposal at 70 Bedford Road, property currently owned by the Pleasantville Methodist Church. Welcome. Let me just say for the benefit of those here, we're joined tonight by Joel Sachs, our village attorney. Are you, Dan, the presenter? Dan Hollis.
Yeah, let's get the computer started and I will yield.
Should we dim the first bank or? should I-
Yeah, let's kill that line of lights that's closer here. You want to just grab hit that switch, Joe? Or-
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll turn off, I think we'll turn off one of them. Turn off. This one is better to.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's okay. We can see fine. Thank you.
All set. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, professional staff, members of the audience, people watching at home. Excuse me, my name is P. Daniel Hollis. I'm a member of the law firm of Schamberg, Marwell, Hollis, and Drace, Sack and Laidlaw in Mount Kisco, New York. I'm here tonight with my law partner, Diana Kolev, along with Jerry Lang, the Senior Vice President for Sunrise Senior Living, Rob Aiello and Jim Ryan from JMC Engineering. and the Mosley architect folk aren't here tonight. But I'm here tonight to represent Sunrise Development. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Sunrise Senior Living. And the project that we're here to talk about tonight is really quite simple. It's 79-unit assisted living facility on 4.1 acres out of 5.6 acres on the property of the Pleasantville United Methodist Church. In order to accomplish what we're asking your board to do for us, three things have to happen. First, an amendment to the zoning ordinance to create an elder care facility floating district. Secondly, an amendment to the zoning map to rezone that 4.1 acre portion of the 5.6 acre property to the EC floating zone district. And then finally, more than one thing, it's two parts to the third thing, site plan and subdivision approval from the village's planning commission for the proposed construction of the new 3-story, approximately 70,000 gross square foot assisted living residence containing those 79 units that I mentioned. The application is compatible and consistent with your recently adopted master plan. So why are we here tonight? We're here tonight just to give you a brief presentation of the plan, to discuss with you and talk about the project's process and the proposed action, to ask the village board to, as timely as possible, refer the matter to the Planning Commission for their role in the change of the zoning ordinance, and for the village board to initiate the secret process by circulating your notice of intent to be lead agency at a time that your board feels is appropriate. And finally, to answer any and all questions that you might have of any of us on the development team here. That being said, now I'll turn the microphone and the podium over to Jerry Lang, who will tell you a little bit more about Sunrise and what we hope to accomplish in your village.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, staff, members of the public. Thank you for having us back here again. It's good to see everybody. We appreciate the opportunity to come before you and present our application, finally, for our Sunrise project here at this site. For my portion of this time, I'm going to keep it relatively simple and focused. I'm going to share with you about who we are as Sunrise, what is it that we do, and why do we like this location. Just to start off with a little bit of history about who we are. So Sunrise Senior Living is one of the nation's largest and oldest senior living providers and developers. We were founded 35 years ago by Paul and Terry Clausen in Virginia. Back then, they were a young couple with a particular passion for elder care. Paul was from the Netherlands and had a great personal experience caring for his own grandmother there, and saw how differently the care for the elderly occurred there versus here in the United States at that time. As you can imagine, 35 years ago, the only real options available for elder care were relatively institutionalized skilled nursing facilities. And so Paul and Terry took it upon themselves and literally bought one of these derelict skilled nursing facilities and began to renovate it themselves and build Sunrise from the ground up. From those very humble beginnings, they built their first purpose-built Sunrise, and then we've grown from there continually. And today we are about 317 communities across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We have 15 communities that we located in the state of New York, and 2 in particular in Westchester County. Across the board, we care for about 27,000 lives at any given time. And our employees who do that work, who care for the residents and their families, are the best, most well-trained in the industry. We love what we do. Our company was founded on a culture of caring for the frail and the elderly. In fact, our actual mission statement is to champion the quality of life for all seniors. We believe in the importance of preserving dignity of life, and for improving the day-to-day experience of our residents and their families in a residential-like facility, residential-like design, and high-quality care. What do we do? What does it mean? What is senior living? It's a question I get asked all the time. Very specifically, Sunrise provides assisted living and dementia care. That's what we do. What I mean by that is to say our residents, on average, are a little bit older. They're approximately somewhere around 85 years old. People move into a Sunrise every single day, not because it is a place that just seems like a fun thing to do. Although it's quite enjoyable in the Sunrise communities, they move here because they have needs. Our residents and their families choose Sunrise as a place to care for their loved ones when they can't continue providing that care for them at home. What we do is we provide activities of daily living. In the industry, they're called ADLs. These are frequently things you can do at home, but they're just very taxing. These include bathing, toileting, assistance with feeding, assistance with medication, dementia care. These are all things that in our purpose-built community that's been purpose designed in many, many, many unique and wonderful ways to facilitate and improve quality of life is significantly easier than to do so at home. In particular, I would point to that our memory care is amongst the best in the nation, and it's an area where we see incredible demand growing all throughout the country, but especially here in Westchester County. The rates of dementia that have continued to develop are significant, and it is one of these diseases that are, in addition to being just very difficult and painful to experience, is also incredibly hard to care for at home. Most homes are not designed in a way that protects and facilitates the care of a family member who develops dementia. And so that's one of the things that we do best here. And we have a purpose-built, protected space, in fact, the entire third floor, dedicated for memory care residents. Why do we like this location? And why are we here? Well, Sunrise, as I mentioned before, has been in the business of building and caring for seniors for the last 35 years. And here in Westchester County, we see a growing need for our services. It's an area in which we've attempted to develop in the past, but due to the recession, certain projects never finished, including this one. This is something that we looked at and attempted prior to the recession, and ultimately, due to that, we weren't able to proceed with, and we're back. We think this is a fantastic opportunity. Amongst the resources that we use, our own internal demographic data, it screams that there is a significant undersupply of available units to care for the elderly here. Two of the things that we care about the most and we look for the most are a combination of both seniors as well as caregivers. Caregivers, ultimately in our business, what we think of as the person who makes frequently the person who makes the real decisions. They are the children of our residents. Our residents, if they're approximately 85, our caregivers are somewhere between 45 and 65. We joke that at Sunrise, the story is really about the oldest daughter. And here in Pleasantville, we believe there's this great mix of both, a combination of caregivers who need to provide decisions on how to care for their parents, as well as the parents themselves, the seniors themselves. Why do we like this location? Well, in terms of the aspects that we look for in our process, high on that list is a combination of factors for access, visibility, and location that fits a residential environment. As I mentioned before, Paul and Terry had this vision for residential care where the home itself should not look like a hospital. And it's not intended to be like a hospital. It's intended to evoke homes that are in the area and intended to evoke a aspirational location and place that you would want to live yourself, you would want your family member to be. And so for us, finding a spot that's located at a transitional stretch where we are both near local commercial areas. This site is a little over a mile from the central business district here in the village. That is on a major road such as Bedford, which provides for fantastic access both to family members as well as employees. As to visibility, located here on top of the grade from Bedford, just provides for us a great mixture of many of the qualities that we look for. In fact, this is one of the preferred sites within our new development portfolio as a whole. The project itself, our team will provide some more details for you. We've spent a significant amount of time trying to imagine and trying to create the ideal project here. We spent time talking with the neighbors, we spent time talking with members of the board. We've pushed and pulled, and we've tried to incorporate all that we can to create a project that really best suits not just ourselves, but best suits both the neighbors and the village itself. And in the next following slides, as we run through real quick, we just have a couple of pictures we wanted to show you to give you a sense of when we talk about, from a residential perspective, really the amount of money, time, and effort that Sunrise invests in order to create that right environment. Here's a couple of exterior photos of landscaping. And then also, from an interior perspective, what we really wanted to show you was our vision for new design. We've been in this business for a very long time. The designs continue to evolve. No longer is it the pure classic Victorian, we used to have this purple and green and gold package, and that's evolved. The taste of our seniors have continued to grow over time. Same thing on the next slide. These are examples of interiors of Sunrise communities, actual ones, that reflect and evoke the things that people care about the most. That the grand staircase helps people draw you into the grand foyer, helps you be the center of hub of activity, of socialization. The main dining room is an area both for not just the feeding of the body, but also the feeding of the soul. The residents have opportunities there to socialize, to play games, and to also entertain all the civic associations and schools that come to visit. A bistro is open 24 hours a day, provides hydration, snacks, always available, always open, jukeboxes, Sunrise signature, popcorn machine, scents, aromas that help evoke home, such as the den as well. Please keep going. Furthermore, just further examples of what we're describing. This is about as close to a home that you would live in yourself, your own home, and as far away from a hospital-like environment as possible. And finally, there's just, again, one of the things that we spend a great deal of time doing is to take characteristics and designs in the surrounding areas to help incorporate. And light and air and outdoor spaces are all important characteristics of the type of surroundings we want to create to promote quality of life for our residents. As I mentioned, we have a great deal of experience. We've been in this business for 35 years, and we have a number of communities all throughout the area. And when I talk about an ideal site being the mixture of many of the qualities I mentioned before, we have examples of some of our existing sites, existing communities that reflect that as well. So for example, on the next slide here, the Sunrise, Sunrise of Crestwood in New York, this is located in Yonkers, is a great community. It's located right at that transitional space between residential homes and to the top right, at the top left, it's a little bit hard to see, but that's the rear of a major strip mall, major shopping center. Go to the next one. Sunrise of New City, again, is similar. It's located right at that transitional stretch where very nice residential homes are at the rear, and then near at the front, it's a much more major street and begins access to other uses. Finally, this is a great example, and I really like this one. The Sunrise of Fleetwood is over in Mount Vernon. It's located on the major road through town, and it's located adjacent to a synagogue. very similar to the situation we're describing here. The Sunrise is the red dot. It's the building that's in the shape of an X. You can see that the parking for the Sunrise right above that. And just above that is the local synagogue. And you can see that there's actually shared access from the main road as well. These are the sort of coherent and congruent uses in which Sunrise thrives in. We, similar to the synagogue and similar to the church, are a major communal destination. We help provide a very critical resource to the needs of the community itself. And it's one in which we act as then a center hub of spoke of activities. And so with all of that said, I would love to pass this on to our excellent engineers here to describe more of this specific project.
Thank you, Jerry. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. My name is Rob Aiello, and I'm a professional engineer with the firm of JMC. We are the surveyors, we are the planners, we are the civil engineers, and the landscape architects, and the traffic consultants for this application. So I'd like to take you through an overview of the nuts and bolts of the submission that we have just recently made to the village. First off was a cover letter by Shamberg Marwell identifying an overview of the project and citing some of the items that Dan had mentioned before. Also included was the zoning petition, which included both text amendments to the zoning ordinance and also a petition to rezone the Sunrise portion of the property to the new EC zone that we're proposing in the text amendment. Also included were detailed site and architectural drawings showing the existing conditions, the project site layout, grading, utilities, erosion control, and landscaping plan, as well as building elevations, a site lighting plan, and floor plans to give you a feel for the various uses within the proposed facility. This is a rendering of the site plan, just for orientation. This is Maple Hill Road and Bedford Road, Route 117. This is the existing church, and this is the proposed Sunrise community. So access, first off, with regard to the subdivision, as Dan mentioned, the overall property is 5.6 acres in size. 1.5 acres will remain as part of the church property, and then the remaining, just over 4 acres, will be the Sunrise property. And this is the portion of the property which goes out all the way to Maple Hill Road, which is proposed to be rezoned as part of the application. In terms of access for the property, there are 2 driveways, one located here and another located here. This western driveway will be a shared driveway for both the church and for the Sunrise community. And that driveway will be approximately double the setback from Bedford Road than the current driveway, which currently comes out in this location here. The driveway further to the east will be solely for the use of the church. So this will be a shared driveway, and this will be a driveway dedicated to the church parking lot. With regard to parking, just to give you an order of magnitude of the spaces that are proposed, the church parcel will have 53 parking spaces in its reconfigured parking lot, including most of its parking here adjacent to Maple Hill Road and some parking spaces here in this location. The Sunrise parking will total 40 for the 79 units that are proposed, and that they will be proposed in the site's northwest corner in this location here. We have driveways which go around to the back, which are just for fire access purposes. That's for emergency vehicles only on the north side. And then on the south side, this is where the loading operations for Sunrise will occur, and then emergency vehicles can then continue to a fire access road, which will be landscaped in nature, and you won't even really know it's even an access road when it's completed. the building for Sunrise is a unique building specifically designed for this property. It mimics the shape of the property. It is longer in a north-south direction than it is in an east-west direction. And that was specifically done to allow for the building to fit into the site's topography, which goes up from Bedford Road at the top of the retaining wall, which goes along Bedford Road, going to the east. So what you have is a building that has 3 levels, but based on the architecture, it presents itself as a 2.5-story building from the front, and then a 1.5-story building from the rear. Now, there are 2 levels in the back, but there is 1 level buried below grade. And from the front, again, it will present as a 2.5-story structure. So this building design was a evolution between the project architect and our office as we tried to figure out a way to make this building fit into the property as best as possible, to minimize the improvements in an east-west direction, and to maximize the buffer to our adjoining residences to the east. So that's an overview of the project site plan and what we've submitted. I'd like to turn it over to Jim Ryan of JMC to talk a little bit about the landscape architecture.
Good evening. As they had, both Jerry and Robin mentioned, landscape. Landscape is a very important element of the overall design of the Sunrise facility. First of all, we're very proud of our relationship with Sunrise. The facilities in New York that Jerry had indicated are all facilities that we were involved in. Our relationship with Sunrise goes back nearly 20 years. The Fleetwood facility in particular, that particular facility was opened in 1999. I think if you have opportunity to go see that facility, and in particular see the outside of the facility and see how well maintained and operated that facility is. It still looks fresh. Landscaping that we designed with another landscape architect really stays healthy and comes alive. And I think the landscape aspect of this particular site is important. We look very carefully at the buffers, recognizing the proximity to residential properties, even though it's transition in our view, because this is a residential home for the people who reside there. And the residents of the adjacent properties too are important to integrate into the overall design. We pay a lot of attention, again, to landscaping for its therapeutic value. As Jerry had indicated and Robert indicated, there are gardens associated with what we're doing here. Very, very important to the residents of these facilities. This is essentially their homes. So in doing so, we look very carefully at the topography, as Rob Aiello had indicated, tried to fit this properly into this property, taking great care to look at the trees. We had a detailed tree survey that we worked with here to look at the trees that surrounded this property for their health and value to the overall landscape. And we tried to, as Rob had indicated, be sensitive to what this site gives us rather than trying to push something in that otherwise create disturbances that were unnecessary. We really worked really hard to fit this in both from a grading standpoint in order to protect a lot of the trees that are adjacent to that. So hopefully when we get into the further details, you'll see that we were successful in a lot of that effort. And we did supplement all of the buffers with good quality plant materials, both prominent on Bedford Road and in the rear of the property as it's adjacent to some of the residential properties. So again, we're very proud of our relationship with Sunrise, and I think the proof is in looking at those facilities that exist, whether you go to the New City facility, the Fleetwood facility, the Crestwood facility. I think they all stand as good quality projects from when we started them, and even to this day, I think they represent their attitude towards maintaining the landscape and the quality of the look of the facilities. Even at this point, some of the one particular facility being almost 20 years old now. So I thank you for that. Jerry, you want to wrap up?
Jerry, just a quick question. This is looking east, right?
Yes,
That's
so,
looking east?
yes, correct. So this is kind of an artificial view, but we chose it because it actually provides the best view of the building itself. It's elevated, this like would be the equivalent of a drone flying up.
Right.
Because
Right,
the,
right. You
the
would
street
never
level
have
is
this
significantly
perspective.
below.
I just wanted to get my orientation on the direction.
Correct,
Thank you.
that's right. Good. So as Rob and Jim mentioned before, we don't take a cookie cutter model and just plow it into a location. Spend a lot of time studying it. And in particular, we understand the history related to this particular site. And so there's a great deal of effort. I mean, this is quite a few months since our last meeting here. And what we've done is, in that time, taken all the feedback and worked to create a project that really works for everybody. I'll highlight a couple of notes in terms of areas in which I think we've improved the design. First of which is that by taking into account the grade, as Rob and Jim mentioned, we've buried the building into the slope. There's a very, very sharp grade difference that goes from west to east. What was it? It's probably like 50 feet or so, right? Such that the building itself has been pushed all the way as far as possible towards Bedford itself and away from the neighbors up on Maple. We do understand that, within the evaluation of projects, we want to minimize negative impacts, even as we know that we provide significant positive benefits to the community. What that's allowed us to do is actually fairly dramatically increase the buffer area. The way our buildings are designed, our third floor is a memory care facility, memory care area. We have a beautiful secured memory care garden that's at the very top of that. It's a big outdoor deck. You can kind of see it. It's the little white thing at the very middle of the part of the property. What that also allows us to do then is to create more flexibility in the shifting around of our footprint. And so what we've done is to squish together the footprint in a way where we've maximized buffer, we've maximized separation, and given the topography, by shifting the building all the way to the west, closer towards Bedford, it actually creates even greater separation from a physical distance perspective, given the heights. 2, we've dropped the building down. One of the architectural design characteristics that we really like is the fact that we've taken advantage of the way the roof and the external facades look to put the top floor into dormers. So the windows and such look like they're built into the roof. It's one of the architectural design characteristics that help break down the size of the building in order to make it feel more residential itself. Third is we shifted around the building within the footprint itself and created even greater setbacks to the neighbors to the north. And finally, I'll just point out that we've oriented all things and all activities to be towards Bedford in a way where the landscaping and the building itself actually act as natural buffers themselves to distractions. So as you can see, all of the parking is done so way to the portion of the land that's closest towards Bedford. It's elevated, so the streets, it shouldn't affect the streetscape. It shouldn't affect, and it's going to be significantly screened along the boundary of our land, but certainly as far away as possible from the residents on Maple. The loading is similarly, it's set in a way where the building itself acts as a buffer to a great number of the residents further up on Maple as well. And finally, we've created an additional screening for any mechanical equipment that will be behind and visually screened from the residents themselves. So in all of that to say is that we spent a great deal of time on this project. We've heard a lot of the feedback, we've heard a lot of the concerns, both from the residents and from the board itself. And after all of our efforts, we've finally come before you with the actual application in which we've put our best foot forward. We're absolutely happy to take additional comments. We're absolutely happy to make additional adjustments. But we do want the board to understand that this is an effort that was not made purely to just do what Sunrise wanted, but in a way that accommodates as many people as possible. And so with that, we thank you for having us this evening, and we're welcome to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. And let me just say at the outset, we received this petition and some hundreds of pages of documents just on Thursday, and so tonight is not a session where we'd engage public comment about this as we all digest what we have received. I wonder whether, Mr. Hollis, you could clarify what it is you hope we will do in the near term.
In the near term, Mr. Mayor, what I would hope to do is that you circulate your notice of intent to serve as lead agency for this rezoning to the required agencies interested and involved, and also forward the matter to the Planning Commission for their report back to you as to their view of the appropriateness of the rezoning.
Okay. So I note also in your materials, you proposed concurrent review of the site plan and subdivision with the Planning Commission at the same time as the village board might hypothetically be examining the zoning change.
Correct.
That's an unusual strategy and not one, I'm sure, that has any precedent here. Fair to say, Joel?
Yes, it's unusual. I mean,
Right.
the normal procedure would be for the board to make a determination as to whether it will accept the zoning petition, and if it does, then it starts the rezoning process and the seeker process, and once a determination is made to either accept or reject the zoning text and the zoning amendment, depending on the way the board goes, then the normal process would be to refer the application for a site plan and a subdivision.
After a zoning
Yeah,
if
after the
adopted,
zoning,
is
yes,
adopted.
Yes.
There still has to be a recommendation by the Planning Commission, though, before any action can be taken. So that's what I would ask happen.
No,
but-
certainly there's a referral
Right,
process,
right.
but
That's required.
you were clear in saying in your letter that you sought a concurrent review.
We've done that before in other jurisdictions.
Okay.
Successfully, where, and the risk is all on Sunrise and on us. We recognize that and accept that and acknowledge it. We would do that so in the event that the application is approved, then it saves time and money to get in front of the board for a site plan review. So the refinements that the planning board would like to see, based upon the law as presented, are being worked out at the planning board commission level at the same time you are considering the amendments. So
Though it runs the risk of costing time and money in the hypothetical that the zoning amendment is not approved.
and then it's, the risk is, as I
Right,
said, all
right.
on Sunrise,
But if you're right, you save the time.
saving time. correct.
So, other members of the board have questions they wanted to pose now, based on what we have so far heard?
I have one, and it's just, I recalled, and then so I looked it up. Back in August last year, we were presented with a sketch, and it was only a sketch. It's nothing like the designs that you guys have done now, but that sketch showed to the north a 70-foot buffer between the property line and the parking area on the north. And on the east, I have to see, what does it show? It was 145 feet from the nearest house. No, it was a shorter, 100 feet from the property line to the building. And I noticed that those buffers on this sketch are significantly less. That to the north you're showing 40 feet, and to the east you're showing, well, it's still about 100 feet. But to the north, it's only 40 feet from the property
let
line.
Rob
And I'm
address
just wondering why. I mean, it seemed to me that 40 feet versus 70 feet is a significant change. If it was 10 feet, I would say, well, discrepancy, but it seems a lot.
Okay, I'll let Rob address that with a precise number if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah,
Please.
Rob?
Thank you. With regard to the building moving to the north, you are correct. It had moved to the north, and that's mostly because, and the numbers you cited were accurate. It's about a 35, 40-foot buffer from the parking lot. Where'd it go?
To the north property line, from the edge of the
Yeah,
parking
from
lot
the
to
edge of the
north
parking lot.
To the
north
property
property
line
line.
to the north, or the building?
From the north portion of the parking lot to
Right.
the northern property line.
Right, on the sketch it was about 75 feet, and on the design it's about, what is it, 40 feet?
The reason for
So-
that was twofold. Number one, it had to do with the subdivision because of providing a compliant setback to the church based on its building height, the way that the village code reads. And number two, it also had to do with building code setbacks between the buildings themselves in terms of fire rating. So you're correct, the building did slide to the north because of those two reasons.
Okay, so the building's no bigger than was envisioned in that sketch, but it's been moved.
That's correct.
And can you touch on what the legal arrangement would be between Sunrise and the church regarding the access roads?
It would be well, what happens is the subdivision map shows that the Sunrise parcel actually goes out to Maple Hill Road. So Sunrise would own its driveway. The church would own its driveway further to the east, but there would be a reciprocal access easement along the common driveway, so that along the western drive.
And the expectation is both entities would use both roads,
Well,
And
no,
both-
Sunrise would use the,
both curb cuts, so to speak.
Sunrise curb cut would be solely, they would only need the one that's closest to Bedford Road. The church would have the ability to use both, because their parking lot connections connect to both.
Why would the church need another parking driveway up Maple Hill? Am I correct? Maple Hill is a cul-de-sac, right?
Yes.
So why would it need another access further up Maple Hill? I mean, I think most people going to the church are coming off of Bedford Road. Maybe a couple of people who live on Maple Hill, but for the most part, most people are coming off of Bedford Road.
They would just come in the lower one.
Why would they need a?
It's something we could take a look at. There are two
Okay.
driveways there now, and we
Yeah.
kept the driveway in the eastern location in the same spot. We slid the Sunrise driveway further
Right.
away from Bedford, but that's
Did
certainly
east,
something that could be looked at.
Okay.
I just may touch on that briefly, and Rob's absolutely right. That's something we can definitely look at. There's been an evolution. The design continues to evolve, and part of the thing with that access was, as we moved through the process of trying to finally put it to paper, the subdivision process created additional technical difficulties that we needed to solve. In particular, in order for it to be a compliant subdivision, the other portion had to have its own direct access to Maple. And so that's what it related to with the church itself. I agree with you. Conceptually, it made a lot more sense for there to be single access. And in previous versions, we designed it that way.
Right, that's why you had it before.
Correct. So if it's something that ultimately the board would be willing to grant as a waiver, I think that as a technical matter, if that's possible, we would be happy to merge access points together.
Okay. So I had two other questions. Obviously, you are not Benchmark, and this ought to be presented on its own, and yet we have the advantage that the folks at JMC have some knowledge of the past thing, which is why I ask two questions. One is, as you will recall, the retaining wall, not built by Village, but at last count, DOT argued that it was our responsibility, was a source of concern, and it's actually something mentioned in the alternatives in your application that you suggest would be the downside of not doing this. Two questions about that. One is Sunrise willing to accept responsibility for that wall were this to be done? And two, I recall in the Benchmark discussion, you folks at JMC indicating that the net stress on the wall was actually less had that project been built than in the current condition. So question one is, are you willing to accept responsibility for the wall? And question two is what you're doing here a threat to the wall?
Right.
Great question, Mayor. We heard your particular concerns related to the upkeep of the wall, and is our commitment to the board that the village will not have any financial responsibility for the wall itself.
Okay.
And with regard to your second question about the physical stress that is placed on the wall, now that we have submitted this petition to the village, as recently as today, I was coordinating with a geotechnical engineer to send them these drawings and to provide us some additional input on, is there any impact on the wall in terms of stress relating from the proposed development? And if there are, what items could be done to mitigate it? So
Okay.
that's an item that we are
An issue to be
looking
addressed,
into
yeah.
on an ongoing basis. But, you know, what Jerry said about
Oh.
ultimate responsibility remains.
A related question was, I didn't see in the documents you provided a section through the site. There were sections through the building, but not sections through the site. Not that that's necessarily required at this stage of the game, but seat of the pants, I had the impression, based on the discussion of how much cubic volume of earth was to be removed, that what's proposed here is less earth removal than was envisioned in the benchmark project?
That is correct.
And is that because you've moved closer to the flatter part of the parcel and also are digging down less?
It's a few different factors. The shape of the building being slender in an east-west direction gives us more opportunity to take the cut from the eastern portion of the property and move it as fill towards the western part of the property where the proposed parking and driveway is located. It also gave us more room to grade more gradually from the location of the parking going towards
Back to Bedford Road?
back to Bedford Road. So what happened is in this location here, this is a fill area and this is a cut area. And in addition, the building itself is set into the grade. So
As was
that-
the case last time.
Well,
Right.
the prior plan had a road that went around the entire perimeter and there was a retaining wall.
Right.
Now the building is the retaining wall, so the excavation required is further to the west.
And these two stubs of roads for emergency service stop, right?
They
end
stop
there.
right about here and right about here. What we've done is we've continued the road where it's sloping because we've went up at the maximum grade permitted by the building code, and once you get up that 10% slope and it's flat in the back of the building, then it will be a grasscrete type surface where it'll be a landscaped but stabilized fire access road. So yes,
So you
these
can do
roads,
it
You're
if they had
planning
to?
to drive across that all the way around if needed.
If they needed to.
it's only for a fire truck. It's not required or proposed for any
Right.
loading operations or vehicular
But
operations.
if they needed to get a ladder truck there, they would.
Right.
So at any rate, should we accept this petition and go down this road, it would be interesting to see a section through the site,
Sure.
especially to assess not only setbacks, but roof lines relative to the homes and all of that.
Okay, that can be provided.
Yeah, so, other,
Yeah, I just had a couple quick ones. So Jerry, in the original one we had last year, you had a lot more parking actually envisioned in the initial proposal, wrapped around the back and all that stuff, and now you've got much less. Is that because you think that that's what will help this site work better and everybody's just gonna have to deal with less parking? Or do you think this is the right number of spots for what you've now sort of settled on for a building?
It's a good question. This is the right number of parking spots.
Okay.
Previous designs had similar total parking,
Okay.
but just configured in different ways.
Okay.
And what happened was that the process of really conforming to subdivision requirements also took out some of the joint parking between the church
Right,
and the
I remember that,
Sunrise,
right.
and the removal of a community space also removed additional parking
And you had,
requirements.
I don't think you had you didn't have east and west options on the front
Correct.
there?
Exactly.
So that's wider, okay.
Correct. So
And
we
then-
more creatively laid it out.
Yep, so it's the same numbers, yeah, it looks a lot less,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So my next question is relating to the trees in the buffer to
Yes.
to the east. In the benchmark proposal, a lot of that buffer was taken down and then replanted. Do you envision keeping the native existing, how much of that is maintained as is versus graded, chewed up, and then
Yes.
replanted?
Yes, so again, as Rob mentioned, by shifting the building forward, we're digging less into the
Right.
hill itself. So we've actually dramatically reduced the amount of disturbance that's occurring there, and we're leaving as much of the native vegetation as possible. Previously, I think there were proposed 2 sets of retaining walls.
Right.
And this, in effect, has none.
So if you had to handicap the proportion of that upper, in this rendering, the upper portion, and in lat law and compass land, the eastern portion buffer toward Maple Hill, how much of that stays native, stays untouched?
Oh, I think a significant portion. Yeah.
Hard to tell now, I know, but if you ballparked it,
The building is at its closest point, 100 feet to the property line.
right?
And if I remember correctly, I did take a look at this before we came tonight, it's about half, so about 50 feet nominally
Would be taken
remains
in.
ungraded, because what we've done behind the building, the building is buried, so the grade steps up. And then we've done a couple small terraced walls to try to minimize the overall limited disturbance, which translates to minimizing the removal of vegetation.
Right.
But, you know, when you're doing grading operations, it's not a surgical process, and there is potential to disturb some of that vegetation, but our landscape plan does show a significant amount of replanting to supplement what's remaining. But our grading plan shows the line of disturbance, and it also shows all of the existing trees that would remain
Right.
in that area based on the grading.
Okay.
So that was addressed in the documents that you have.
Thank you.
So I also noticed that you highlighted in your application an anticipated total tax revenue to all taxing entities of about $350,000. That's about 20% less than the numbers that Benchmark had been talking about, which were in the 4.25-ish range. And if I recall, actually, the number of 500 was thrown out way back when, back in the days when Bedford Road Partners was first coming to us. So what do you make of all that?
Yeah, so as we've discussed in the past, we were trying to reduce the overall disturbance upon the surrounding areas. And so part of what we've done is actually shrink the building. So this project is 79 units. The previous Benchmark project was, I believe, 87 units. And so there's a roughly commensurate decrease in the financials.
Well,
as
so
as-
that would be about 10% less, but the predicted tax revenue is about 20% less.
Yeah, there's efficiencies to scale in this sort of operations. At 79 units, this is at the very low end of what, on a new prototype basis, Sunrise would ever build. We've really squeezed as much fat out of this thing in order to provide the best mixture of all options to the
So
village.
that's not exactly responsive to the tax question, but we'll move on. I know in work session way back when you indicated some flexibility about the scale of the number of units. And Benchmark was quite clear, to their credit, that 87 units was about the limit. They really couldn't go smaller, and so smaller wasn't one of the options to be pursued.
Correct.
Do I take what you just said, that 79
Is your floor?
is your floor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful, thank you.
Would this be your smallest facility?
Not the smallest facility that we currently operate. We have 35 years of operations,
Right.
and so 300 communities. But this will be the smallest of all the new development projects that we're building today.
The new portfolio?
Correct.
Are the parking space count that you have there, is that in compliance with our current code, or is that more taking into consideration what you feel your parking needs really will be, or something else?
The parking requirement is based on industry standards of one space for every 2 units, so it's basically a 0.5 ratio. It's also consistent with the ratio that was recommended for assisted living uses in the recently adopted master plan for the village. But that is consistent with what we've seen in other zoning ordinances. We're currently working on 2 other projects for Sunrise, one in Huntington and one in White Plains, and both of those had the same ratio.
And operationally,
0.5.
that fits with what you guys see?
And the landscaping plan, I'm gonna focus again on the north property line, because I feel like that's where it's closest
Yeah,
to
I
a
think
property
you're right.
line. Both in the rendering and it looks like on your landscaping plan, there's a fairly large gap of where it's not landscaped with any sort of screening. It looks like grass, and here it's, empty. So would you
Yeah.
consider a more substantial grading, screening
Screening.
in that area?
One of the constraints we have there is a 20-foot wide sewer easement. So we designed the screening. There's a sanitary sewer that runs along that northern property line.
It's existing now?
That's existing now, correct. So we designed the landscaping to avoid that easement. If maybe during future conversations, we can figure out some maybe
And it's right in that
supplemental type
strip,
plantings.
it's right in that strip between the parking and the property line?
Yeah, it comes down right.
Who holds that
in this
easement?
location here. I believe that's a village easement.
Okay.
But I think, on a general point, I think what Sunrise wants to say is that ultimately our commitment is to be responsive to additional requests. So to the extent possible, and certainly working with you, we would add more screening in areas that would be beneficial.
Yeah, because to Joe's point, you moved it closer to those two houses, right? So they have the impact or more.
I mean, just off the top of my head, in the course of construction, if you did this, if we approved it, in theory, you could move that sewer pipe underneath your parking lot. It would be accessible because it's under a parking lot, and if we approved it, that would be something, would you be willing to consider?
Yes, certainly, and certainly if the village owns that easement, allows us to
Gives us more flexibility.
build screening on top of it, we would be able to do that as well.
Okay, are there other comments on the board? All right, so oh, did you have?
Just wanted to make sure.
So, yeah. So our next step here will be for the board to consider what we have received. We got a lot of material from you and have to plow through it and feel as though we understand it in order to craft an appropriate response and identify what the next steps might be. So, Patty, are the application materials available for anyone who would like to see them on the web? Can we make them so?
Yeah, we had a little difficulty given the size of it, but we can arrange that now. We have a disk and we'll do a zip file and put it out.
Yeah, so
I have a
think
link to it that I can circulate too,
That
so if
might be-
anybody wants it.
Yeah.
that would be useful, I think, for anyone. So
They
again,
can
as
just
I
reach out to me or Judy. We
right,
can-
as I mentioned at the outset, I don't think now is should the board accept this application and start this process, then obviously there's a public process that would engage all the folks who have opinions, pro and con. That seems premature at the moment as we consider this big stack of material that has been handed to us. I certainly commend a thorough and professional presentation. Appreciate that very much. So,
Thank you.
Great.
And the point of contact for us to hear would be either Mr. Sachs or Ms. Dwyer.
Yes.
Reach out to me. Or
for sure, right.
And thank you so much for
Okay.
your attention and your cooperation tonight.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thanks, guys.
So all of you are no doubt aware that you're welcome to stay for the balance of our agenda. It is always a little bit wounding when everyone wants to
Can't
leave.
breathe. The air is getting sucked out.
Yeah. All right.
Give them a minute.
So we have a number of resolutions tonight.
Somewhere back there. Ready?
Thank you, Joel.
Yes, much appreciated. So
Do you have proclamations?
I described them. I don't think we have to read them in detail. So. All right. Let's move ahead as the group departs.
Hold on.
Looks like we're going to have to wait briefly.
We need 5 minutes.
Brief break. Welcome back. Apologize for that delay, but we had a crowd of folks who were more interested in what just happened and less interested in what's about to happen, and so we needed to give them a chance to move on to the next phase of their evening. So we're back to the exciting part of our evening, which is the resolution. Nicole, number 67. Oh, sorry, we had plenty of public comment.
That's wonderful.
I apologize. We have some public comment.
Thank you.
Enter and sign in, please.
Oh,
This
funny.
feels very strange. Mindy Berard, 71 Leland Avenue, Pleasantville,
Is that legitimate?
Great Village of Pleasantville. But I normally, I know I'm supposed to wait until the agenda item, but I don't want to stay for all of that. But I just want to talk about the item that's on the agenda regarding the pool.
Yes?
And I shouldn't have my back. This is very unflattering. You shouldn't do this to people. About the pool and about what a great opportunity it is for residents of the Village of Pleasantville. This is, blockbuster prices to get a membership as a family. And if you really divide the amount of time, especially if you have younger children, or if you're a senior, because there's a lot of seniors there, at the pool, if you divide the family pass price to the amount of time you spend there, you're probably talking, under $1 an hour. Not even. It's probably even less than that. But great entertainment. We've made so many great improvements there, and I urge everybody to take advantage of these great prices. The village is really trying very hard to create a great community benefit, and we all pay for it through our taxes, and it's subsidized that way. And with a little contribution, you can have a great summer at the Village Pool. So thank you,
Awesome.
Village Pool.
Thank you for that.
And-
Thank you, Vinny.
You do such great work for that, and we really appreciate it.
You're
And
going
I'll
to be
see
the
you at the
official
pool.
spokesperson for all the specialty village events and
That's-
and
All right.
amenities.
That's
Since-
it.
Since
So thank
Mindy
you.
has jumped ahead here, it's a good time to pile on with her comments and to note several good things going on. One is we're in the midst of some really nice renovations and improvements to our concession, including taking down a fence, extending the deck, entirely new tables and benches, and a dramatically improved kitchen with new equipment and a new operator. The folks at Good to Go, who have just moved in on Bedford Road, have agreed to operate our concession, and there will be now all kinds of opportunities to get interesting stuff, not just the usual stuff, which will still be there. No fear that you won't be able to get the classic fries and the chicken tenders, but you'll also be able to get paninis and wraps, fresh-made sandwiches, smoothies, iced coffee, a whole raft of great stuff. So we fully expect that in addition to the virtues Mindy described, folks may want to go to the pool just to have lunch or dinner. So that's good news. In addition to which, pass the word, we also opened up a limited number of pool passes to folks who live outside 10570. So if you have friends who may be interested who live nearby but not close enough to join, there are a limited number of passes available too. And we also removed the difference in rates between folks who are village residents and school district residents, reflecting the fact that so many families would like their kids to share in summer social activities with the folks they go to school with. And so it's going to be a great summer at the Pleasantville Pool as we continue to make investments. So thank you for all of that. All right, here we go. Is there any other public comment? How about Resolution 67?
Shrinking public.
Yes.
Okay. Resolved that the pre-check register dated April 24th, 2017 is hereby approved as listed below. From the fiscal year 2016-17, check numbers 86112, 86116, and 86119-86220. From the general fund, $249,451.13. From the special purpose fund, $200. From the water fund, $115,571.29. From the capital fund, $6,346.28. The refuse fund, $12,260.91, for a total of $383,829.61.
Not yet.
There's more.
But wait, there's more.
For the fiscal year
Don't go home yet.
2017-18, check numbers 86117-86118, from the general fund, $620.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the check register? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 68, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the donation from the Deed Emerson Revocable Trust Foundation in the amount of $300 toward Clinton Street Senior Programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very
Continued
much.
flow of generous gifts reflecting all that goes on down at the Senior Center. Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved. Joe, 69.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from the Pleasantville Day Committee to close Memorial Plaza for Pleasantville Day celebrations on Saturday, May 20th, 2017, from 6 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m., and further resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the police chief to post no parking signs on Saturday, May 20th, 2017, and to tow all vehicles in violation of this temporary parking restriction.
Is there a second?
Second.
So, as reported earlier, Saturday, May 20 is going to be a great Pleasantville Day. It is not a great Pleasantville Day for the small number of folks who get their car towed.
Yeah,
So-
please,
so-
Please don't.
Pay it.
we didn't put signs in the right spot, or there was a mix-up with the signs last year, remember that?
I think we had some rain as well.
Or some
that-
things, and we
that-
may have that again. We just really got to make sure that those signs are visible and they're easily seen, both sides of the meters, right? One
Yes.
year we had it where the other side of the meter was, it was easy to misunderstand which side they were talking about.
We'll do a better job
All
with
right.
that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Nicole, this is
Well, we're go-
you're getting
Get all the
the
numbers.
Unless you
the
wanna- you wanna
finance
swap.
number.
That's all right.
All right, she was
Number-
gonna swap it with me, but she's gonna take a crack at it.
All right. Whereas the village administrator presented a tentative budget for the fiscal year 2017-2018, and whereas a public hearing was duly held on April 5th, 2017 before the Board of Trustees, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Pleasantville's 2017-2018 fiscal year budget is adopted as follows. General fund expenditures, $15,653,536. Special assessments, $8,916. Omitted taxes, $6,100. Village-wide tax levy, $10,561,430. General fund non-property tax revenues, $4,727,090. General fund appropriated fund balance, $350,000. Appropriated capital reserve, 0. Assessed valuation, $114,728,298. Tax rate per per thousand assessed
That would be something
valuation. That's $92, .056. And tax rate increase of 0.58%.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just would like to read into the record and note that Colleen Wagner sent, she was unable to be here tonight, and asked us to read the following. My apologies for not being present at tonight's meeting for both the Sunrise presentation and our budget vote. After weeks of preparation and review, I am in favor of the budget as presented this evening. Patty, Mary, and Noreen have guided us once again to a fiscally responsible budget that allows us to maintain services, set aside monies for capital expenditures, minimally tapped into reserves, and moves us into the future with exciting opportunities thanks to our master plan update, all while keeping us under the tax cap. I'm confident that we are adopting a budget that sets us up for continued fiscal security now and into the future. I echo those comments and thank Patty and Mary and Noreen in our finance department. As those of you who follow this with any care may know, we went through the budget line by line with the major department heads and changed a little here and there, but not very much because it's a tight, well-crafted budget and one that delivers a lot of value for a 0.58% tax increase. So thanks to all parties. Any other comment?
No, I echo all of that as well.
Well done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 71, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the refuse rates for the fiscal year 2017 to 18 as follows. For each condominium unit, $340.70. One family residence, $454.26. Two family residence, $681.39. And for a three-family residence, $1,022.09.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Well, before we do it, this
Yeah.
is this is not a large increase, right? This is,
It's less than a
it's
dollar.
less
a
than
year.
$1, right? I just wanted to make sure everybody,
It's
that's
basically flat.
really
You're
not
right.
moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Really not materially different at all. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved. Joe, 72.
72, otherwise known as the mini Berard
mini
resolution.
Berard.
Yeah, but she didn't stay for it. We're
Resolved
We've
that
been
the
hurt
Board-
before.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the pool rates for the fiscal year 2017-2018 as follows. Residential rates, family, $400, individual, $200, pay booklet, $120, senior, $75, and guest fee, $10. For school district and Pleasantville zip codes, family, $400, individual, $200, pay booklet, $120, senior, $75, and guest fee, $10. Outside Pleasantville zip code, and I guess that also means outside school district if there's anything that may be within the zip code but not in the school district. Family, $600, individual, $275, senior, $100, and guest fee, $10.
Is there a second?
Second.
So further to Joe's comments, I don't know if there is anyone in this category, but should that last category be outside the village and the school district as opposed to outside the zip code?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be clear what it is.
I think we'll just change we'll change it to read that way.
Okay. Is that acceptable to the mover and the seconder?
Yes.
Fine with me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. And just again, a shout out, as we just mentioned, some great stuff going on with renovating the concession, a new countertop instead of a fence, new canopy cover, much better place to sit, and perhaps most important of all, a much broader menu with a much wider selection of good stuff. So,
Well, by the way, on that point, just thinking about the zip code, I was thinking about, there are houses that are outside the village and outside the school district, but in the 10570 zip code. There are. If you go all the way up Bear Ridge,
Yeah, they don't have.
they have Pleasantville mailing addresses. They're in the town, but they're neither in the school district or the village. So, that's,
yeah.
can't have else to.
All right, so I think, it seems reasonable to edit this as described, does it not? We already approved it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 73,
Patty and I just concur that we could probably just say the Board of Trustees hereby approves the 2017-18 water rates as listed on the resolution.
That's shown on
okay,
the record,
that
right.
spares Nicole a lot of reading. Number
I'm
I'm good
73.
with that.
And just for the record, they're the same rates that have been in effect for the past
All right,
several
good.
years, so they're not increasing.
So you have
Okay,
it
that's good to
shown
know.
As reflected
All
further on
right.
the record, one of those.
All right, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following water rates for the fiscal year 2017-2018 as listed on the record.
Is there a second?
Second.
And as reported, no change from last year. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Steve, 74.
Hold on. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the CSEA contract renewal.
Is there a second?
Second.
Patty, you want to touch on this? You being the
I'd be happy to.
chief
Mayor.
negotiator?
Yes, I've been negotiating on behalf of the village with its CSEA since mid-December.
CSEA, for those who may not know, is Civil Service Employees of America and represents our
Yes.
non-uniformed employees.
Most of our non-uniformed employees, correct. The negotiations were cordial and professional. We had given considerable thought to where we would have liked, as a collective effort, to bring that bargaining group into good competitive standing. We looked at what was going on in other communities with respect to wages and benefits. We took a hard look at where we were from a competitive advantage, also from an economic situation, and we came up with a 2-year agreement that, as they say, good deals are deals where both sides really never feel that they've done everything they should, but are happy nonetheless with the results and feel that it was fair.
I think the saying is
So-
that they're equally unhappy. but-
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they are or we are. I think that we've come to the realization that this was a fair and balanced contract. So we're looking at a 2-year wage increase, 2.5% per year. There are some longevity increases, $75 in the first year, $150 in the second. We're also looking at some housekeeping things that really needed to be tidied up in the contract, where we had differences of opinion on how to interpret some things. We were able to improve services by taking days like Veterans Day, when they fall on traditionally on a weekend, to recognize that holiday as a floating holiday, so our sanitation services don't get affected by that. We obviously still respect the Veterans Day celebrations, but there was really no reason to stop sanitation on a Friday when Veterans Day was on a Saturday. So things like that were changes we made in the contract as well. And as I said, a 2-year agreement. We believe it's balanced and fair, stays within what we have seen to be generally the settlements in the county. And that's about it.
Great.
Thank you for that, and I thank the folks, not only the negotiating group from CSEA, but all the members who participated in this and voted to ratify it, as we will tonight, or at least I think we will, but we'll find out now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Congratulations. That was a good run, Patty.
Number 75.
I have
Okay.
to roll down to it.
That's
No, I'm
Joe.
Joe.
Oh, that's
But
Joe.
I
I'm sorry, I'm
rolled down.
skipping
Here we
ahead
go.
here.
Yeah.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees, in accordance with village law, certifies the amounts of unpaid water rents due from the village property owners and hereby authorizes the village treasurer to levy unpaid water rents to the 2017-2018 tax roll.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the standard procedure. If your water bill gets in arrears, it rolls over to your tax bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 76, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrators to sign the prisoner transportation agreement with Westchester County. And it refers to the agreement attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is the annual agreement that compensates the Village of Pleasantville, like all other municipalities, for the services we provide in transporting a prisoner to and or from the county jail. There's a flat fee plus a per mile rate. The per mile rate not doing us too much good since it's
No, it went
only
down,
8
actually.
miles away.
Less wear and tear on our vehicle.
That's right.
But in a circumstance where someone needs to be sent to the county jail overnight, we drive them there, and in a circumstance where they need to come back to participate in a legal process or a court process here, we go back and get them and then return them to the county jail. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 77, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments. So we're going to be transferring from the general fund an $18,500 amount from a general fund contingent to pool supplies, and then $5,000 from police vacation buyback to police radio repairs, for a total of $23,500. Transferring from the water fund $4,200 from New York State employees' retirement to hospital and medical insurance. And then we're appropriating fund balance from the general fund for a series of totals. I'll read them off. From $37,875 from judgment and claims to tax certiorari for Gion and Odyssey Diner. $22,030 from parking enforcement to equipment-auto for one of our new Nissan Leafs.
So more on that in a moment. You're simply wrong about that, Lori.
$23,855 from safety inspection to equipment-auto leaves. Sorry, I'll stop.
Yeah.
$32,850 from street maintenance to equipment-blacktop container. That's our hot box. $75,000 transfer to capital. Police Department technology improvements for a total of $223,890. And then the last movement is increasing revenue and expense line on the capital fund for the $75,000. It's an interfund transfer from general fund over to the aforementioned Police Department technology improvements expenditure account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions about these?
Tell you, these are the 2016-17 budget.
Yes, we're moving this money in advance of closing out the fiscal year.
All right.
Correct.
And all within the budgeted.
Except for those that we're taking from fund balance.
Right, the fund
Right,
balance
there's an
appropriations were not part of the original budget.
So part of that budget was appropriating fund balance, but then we were putting it back into fund. Our fund balance grew from the 16-17 year to the 17-18 budget, right?
We expected, from the prior year, yes.
So were these expected, an expected level of fund balance expenditure? That's my question. Not the specific purchases, but.
I mean, the net will be less
purposes
than
are-
anticipated.
right.
It's just that we
Right.
decided, based in part on opportunities and in part on the results of operations, that now
We
was
needed these
an
things,
appropriate
yeah.
occasion to buy
And
this
it's
stuff.
partially foreseeable, right? Like the certiorari, but partially not. I think.
Right, I mean,
Right.
the leaves came up as an opportunity. The police department, we did expect to go out to bid for the CCTV cameras
Right.
throughout the downtown, and also we acquired some access control systems for the building. So that we knew, we're trying to get some budget numbers together, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're still well within where we expect to be with the fund balance at the end
So
of the
does
year.
that mean our fund balance will not be as high as we had thought it would be?
Correct. It'll be down by
2
about.
months ago, let's say, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, it'll be down slightly from where we thought, but
223,000.
generally it's going to be probably where we started at the beginning of the year. We're still
Right,
in
and
a
we
pretty
roll
good,
into 18 where we thought we were
essentially
gonna roll
unchanged,
into.
right.
Right.
Got it, okay.
Further, then we have these already paid for, which otherwise we'd have to pay for next year. So.
Right,
Oh,
yeah, the
yeah.
cars, we needed 2
Right.
cars, and we got an opportunity
Right.
to buy them cheap,
Right,
so
we put
there
them
we
in the
go.
expiring.
And we
fiscal
got back
year.
5,000 apiece on them. So,
Oh, we just got the notice today, we got $10,000 back.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we must simply stop to report that we bought 2 electric vehicles, the Nissan Leaf, which is an acronym, I believe, for whatever.
Low emission.
This gave rise to a serious controversy within the board and the village hall about the plural of this. Have we bought 2 Leafs or 2 leaves? Lord here, I'm afraid, is on the wrong side of this. I'm confident it's Leafs, and I think our new trustee, Asquith, has an academic background in matters of at least tangentially related to this, and she's on my side. And where are you?
How is that possible?
How is that possible?
Steve,
I
I'm
talk
sorry.
grammar.
All right,
I
I
agree
will,
with
you know what, in the
Mayor and
spirit
Nicole. It's a
of-
proper name, it's.
You know what, and I believe in congeniality up here.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we don't
Yeah.
always stand on.
We'll finish
don't
this
spoil the
outside
fun.
later.
All right. I don't know,
Take
Patty,
your
shall we
leave,
put up a
and-
survey? All right.
Good.
A couple of funguses walked by. No problem with it.
How many fishes are in the tank?
Yeah. 2 Leafs walked into a bar. 78, approval of minutes. I don't even remember whose it is at this point.
It's
Joe
Joe.
Nicole.
Joe.
Oh, it's me.
Joe, yes.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meetings held on Monday, March 27th, the annual organizational meeting of April 3rd, 2017, the budget hearing of April 5th, 2017, and the special meeting on April 10th, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions, or
Are
corrections
we just catching up
to
on
the minutes?
all of them at once?
We are.
Yep.
All in
I think
favor?
I think this is our first regular meeting since
Yeah, that's true.
March
Right.
27th. The others were
Right.
special meetings, so we
Right.
didn't adopt
Yes.
minutes.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. That has brought us to the end of our agenda business tonight. As you saw tonight, we received a presentation from the folks at Sunrise Assisted Living about the project that we anticipated they would propose up at the Methodist Church. The village board will have to decide whether to accept that application for a proposed floating zone, and if so, then what the next steps will be. So stay tuned on that, and if anyone is interested in the details, we'll get the application materials posted on the web in whatever is a reasonable way to do it. They delivered literally hundreds of pages of material, which we have in PDF form, but it is not a small download. So I can help perhaps package
Yeah,
that more
we
efficiently.
have some ideas on that too.
Yeah,
We
so-
can use the link if we need to
Right.
get a Dropbox
Right.
account, or maybe they even have one. So-
Well, they sent us a link, but we can't put that link on our website. It just
Because it's
won't.
their link
Yes.
also. We ought to be using our own link, so. All right, so we'll take a look at the size of those files, and some of them are likely of less immediate interest to people, but we might, certainly some pieces of it are of great interest, so. Reminder again, that sequence of things going on, sports equipment collection day by the recycling committee, May 13 at the DPW yard, Pleasantville Day the following Saturday, May 20, Memorial Day services, Monday, May 29, Fire Department Parade, Friday, June 2, and the Pleasantville Music Festival, Saturday, July 8. So it's a packed dance card for full spectrum participants in the life of Pleasantville, New York. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Thank you and good night.